Wake up, Toronto. That's right. Rise and shine, darlings. It's the morning and 5 a.m. to be exact. Where is this insane energy coming from? I don't know. Could be the incredible sleep I had last night, which tends to happen ever so often, especially on days where as soon as I crawl into bed and lay my head down, immediately I fall asleep and don't wake up until my alarm goes off the next day. Super refreshed this morning, hence, I guess, the energy. Plus, I'm having my cup of coffee now after I did a quick workout at the gym. It was cardio day today, so I feel like I'm on a roll. Hopefully, the day will turn out to be productive. Seeing that I'm on a high note right now, the topic that I have to talk about today is a bit of a downer, only if you want it to be. I found that there is a positive outlook to it in the end. Basically, last week on my Instagram stories, I shared a reel by the huge influencer, entrepreneur, and philanthropist named Suzannatv Rose. She's been content curating for over a decade and has over 42 million fans across many platforms. And although she's super funny in her videos, she's very much real and transparent with her followers. And I love that about a public figure. So the video I shared was more on the serious end and something that I've seen within my own culture. But it's definitely not limited there. It exists in many other cultures, and I feel it has to end. And the only way it will is if we stand up about it. Now, I got a lot of DMs about the post that I shared, and I thought, why not discuss it further and comment about it? So we know in movies and TV shows, right, within 24 minutes of a sitcom or a couple hours in a feature film, a conflict arises and is solved within that time frame. You know, characters learn an important lesson, apologies are exchanged, and well, life goes on. Such universal messages like Ohana means family and no one gets left behind, or the family that prays together stays together, even I love you, you love me, we're one big happy family, etc. These sayings can go on forever and ever, and of course it's cringy and oh so cheesy, but you know, we love them, and children are the most influenced from what they hear and see, and they become conditioned to these words of wisdoms, if you will. Now, don't get me started on Disney princesses. I mean, I love fairy tales like the next person, but also appreciate reality. What Suzannatv Rose's video targeted was just because you have people in your life that are in fact family doesn't mean that they have the privilege to say hurtful things to you or make you feel like crap. And other family members shouldn't chime in and tell you otherwise to forgive them and move forward. And I couldn't agree with this statement more, considering being in a situation like this for many, many years. The younger me would listen to the adults of the household and see them as people who have already been through a lot in life, and through their experiences, the advice that they give can really be helpful. But what I began to realize as I got older was something completely the opposite. Now, I deviate really far away from gossip. I don't think it benefits anybody. If anything, it adds hindrances in relationships and builds resentment and anguish towards one another. But heck, some people thrive off of that, and many relatives, I feel, whether it's about me or another family member, they would make up rumors and hype it up. And even though it was true or untrue, they would spread it around, and it would come back to that person who it's about, and it would hurt a great deal. And so not just that, but siblings and cousins younger than you, they would also display such disrespect for no reason. And then the parents or aunts and uncles, you know, they expect you to turn the cheek and say, well, they're just kids. You need to maintain cordial relationships on the plain facts that you are related. You're gonna need each other later on in life. But to me, it felt like, okay, if I forgive them, the lesson at hand was not being learned. It actually enabled them to behave like this again. And surely it did with a similar situation. So this whole idea of forgiveness, in reference to my own opinion, deep down, I feel should be earned. It isn't easy to, let go of pain, especially from those who you care for are the main cause of it. To come into terms with that and agreeing to move on is a way of saying that, hey, they acknowledge the wrong that has been done and will work hard towards it not happening again. So I guess it's a mutual understanding. Plus, I think avoiding confrontation also has a lot to do with it. It kind of looked like these people found that being wrong made them less of a person. Perhaps it killed their pride a little. And so discussing what happened was prohibited. It was more of what's done is done. Let's not go back and rehash or place faults. It is absurd, and I'm most definitely against that ideology. I mean, we are humans. We are bound to make mistakes, but there is nothing wrong in saying sorry. With great humility emerges an even greater amount of respect. So who is to blame here for the horrible manners that people display? Is it schools, friends, bad influences, parents, or a culmination of several of these factors? And I kind of want to lead with an example. So let's say you're in school and you get 4 out of 10 on a spelling test, and that's because you mixed up the different ways on using the word there in a sentence. Would it be a big deal for your teacher to help you correct that mistake for the future, or should he or she avoid it and let you go through life making the same grammar errors, which could cost you your dream job in the long run because you can't draft a proper email without these mistakes? So you see the sheer frustration now I felt to be complacent and empathetic to those family members that I believed didn't deserve it because they refused to acknowledge their mistakes and their behavior and learning from it. However, this will blow your mind. If I had said anything that could have possibly come across as hurtful, I would never hear the end of it with these people. I not only had to publicly apologize, but had to do it on multiple occasions until they felt it was okay to put the matter behind them. Crazy, right? Hypocrisy at its finest. And so, for my well-being and mental health, I began creating distance, greater distance at that, over time, and making myself unavailable. It was tough, but I needed to initiate this move to bring positive light back into my life. You know, I felt drained being around these individuals whenever we had a gathering of sorts, and slowly even had the courage as far as removing them from my social media platforms so they wouldn't get an ounce of my existence as a part of their daily bread. There would be less tabs of me and what I was up to, and even lesser things for them to critically conversate about me to each other. So sooner or later, they realized this and only then wanted to reach out and mend the whole relationship. But too much time had already passed. And there is such a thing as being too late to the table. So to sum all of this up, if you have emerged happier, content, and living your best life, maybe a decision as simple as closing the door on family members isn't as bad as you thought it would be. It's now their turn to live in regret for taking your presence for granted. Perhaps it will awaken within them the urge to change, because let's face it, we cannot force someone to be the best version of themselves, even though we feel that they have that potential. Change happens from within, and it takes time. But it is up to us to serve family, relatives, friends, or others the consequences to their actions by doing what is necessary to remove ourselves from the toxic environment. Hopefully, listeners, this has helped you or given ideas on how to stop this kind of nonsense from entering your life and setting up a sleeping bag. You have the power to choose the people you want close to you, and just because there is this label of family doesn't mean those relationships have a free invitation to wreak havoc and cause damage to you, whether that be mentally, physically, or emotionally. Let's switch up the stories a bit and give you a little feel-good vibes. This past weekend was full of celebrations with humans that I'm proud to call my family. So my husband and I, after we had gotten back from our trip, it was the first time we went to visit my in-laws. And to paint you a little picture here, okay, we walked into their place and it was completely decorated for us for our 1-year wedding anniversary. Now, although my husband and I had celebrated it in Dominican a few weeks prior, the fact that they waited to throw us this small gathering meant the world. It was so thoughtful of them, and I felt spoiled. You know, there was delicious food and drinks, balloons, and like a gorgeous bouquet my mother bought me. And who could forget cake for moi and apple pie and ice cream for the husband. I literally had tears in my eyes, but I had to hold it back. But I came home and cried a little, that's for sure. But a massive amount of gratitude goes out to my in-laws for truly making us feel special. And it's like they pay attention to these little details about us. Like, how would they know what our favorite things are, you know? Couldn't be more proud to call them my family. And even more good stuff and news. So my parents' wedding anniversary was this Saturday, December 3rd, and it's another happy occasion. I mean, 39 years of marriage to each other. Wow. Congratulations are definitely in order, and knowing them personally, because I'm their daughter, I'm surprised they're still together. I'm not trying to be offensive in any way, but it lasted this long because they are high school sweethearts, and usually relationships that early rarely last decades. So they proved me wrong, and I'm very excited for my parents who, you know, funny story is on Friday night after we were leaving my in-laws' house and driving back home, Abby called my dad. They were just talking on the phone casually, and my dad was like, "So, are you coming over tomorrow for our wedding anniversary to just hang out for a bit?" And my husband replied, "Well, you know, we did spend an entire week with you two when we went on vacation, so let's take a little bit of a break." And you all should have heard my dad's reaction on the other side. He seemed disappointed, like a little kid. Like, his response was, "Oh, okay." I know I didn't want to break his heart, but at the same time, we did want to give my mom and dad some space to, you know, go somewhere special or cook something and have dinner together. So we kind of eased off a little bit. And when I called my mom on the day of their anniversary, she teased us by saying she's going to be baking treats. So that was her way of saying, "Come on over, like, I'm cooking up some delicious food and I want you to join us." But she then like FaceTimed us because we declined, obviously politely, and she was bragging about how amazing this cake turned out. And I was like, "Mom, so basically you baked yourself your own wedding anniversary cake?" And she laughed a little. But yeah, it was an eventful weekend, and I'm looking forward to visiting both of our parents a couple more times before the holiday season is over. Speaking of being over, that's a wrap on today's segment. A quick shout out to please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content. And guess what? Wake Up Toronto is looking for guests to tell their story on the show. So if you have any family, friends, coworkers, a boss who you think we should chat with, shoot us an email at suzannatv.tv@gmail.com, and in the subject section put Wake Up Toronto guest. If you nominate someone, send us the details and a short blurb on how we can connect with them. Have a great week, you guys. Much love always.